Just take one hit. Don't you want to be cool?
Gather round everyone. The show's about to begin.
Turn on, tune in, drop out, this show's amazing. It's Super Lemon Haze, you know them boys always blazing. Put one in the air, fill your glass and get to raising. Kirkman praising, school flag waving. Chopping up the topics instead choking on some chronic. Scott and Eric breaking it down like 21st century prophets. Eyes glazed and minds dazed, it's knowledge they convey. Roll up and consume the Super Lemon Haze.
Super Lemon Haze.
Going to ask you several questions.
Super Lemon Haze.
How do you feel?
I feel like a slice of butter melting on top of a big old pile of flapjacks. Yeah.
Sup,
Super Lemon Haze.
Super Lemon Haze, motherfucker. So we're getting back into the fucking saddle. We had a pretty, in my opinion, I think we had a great time with Kirk.
Yeah.
It's hard, you know.
2 in 1 week. Busy week.
Always, man. Like I've been saying, we're moving fast. We've got a lot of content to cover, and we know that you know we've got some time right now to get it in, so we want to get it in. It's hard to judge though, just based on like the fact that you know he's so good at what he does. You know, Kirk is such an exceptional entertainer that like, is he playing the role that he is interested in all of these shows? Do you think, or is it just sort of like, is he just do like what? I guess
I thought we were a great example of kind of getting that, figuring that out, and kind of like figuring out how he was going to go with all of this, because he obviously played quite a heel role. Like first, like fuck these guys. We were prepared for anything when he came on, and he turned out to be an awesome guy and was totally cool with, you know, having a regular conversation with us. And I think because we weren't necessarily just going after as you know, a fan show or a recap show, because we're sitting here talking about a couple of things that, you know, we have some depth to. I thought we had like a real conversation with the guy, which was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, I took, well, personally, I took some criticism to heart that I really appreciated. I think one of them is my...
He threw a couple at you, yeah. Yeah.
But that's cool because, again, that's what, like I think about it, but that dude, he was making like $1 million a year, and he's been on the air for like a decade, right? So give or take. And it's I almost consider this is like a master's class, you know, like,
yeah,
you know,
and I think you have like I think this, regardless of how far Super Lemon Haze goes or how much longer we talk about weed for, you know, I think we've got quite a few shows in us and we've got a lot to do, but I think you've got something going here as far as like your production, how you produce. And I think you got a voice for this thing too. So him giving you a little bit of credit is pretty cool too. I think that's something for you.
You know, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I appreciate that too, but I'm kind of like brushing over any of the credit. And I mean, I think the one thing that I do like that he said was just, you know, we are working hard, you know, like, cause that's, if there's
he's
anything,
into what we're doing for sure.
Yeah. Like
he's like, I'm not into what you're doing, but I am, cause I appreciate what you guys are up to.
Exactly. And I mean, and he was also saying this, I think on his show ago, or the one before that, I forget, these fucking days are blurring together, but, he was saying how we kept bringing the conversation back to weed and back to pot.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like laughing about that. But, you know, to be honest, that's what you and I, that was the plan that we had. You know, we didn't want to make this like every other show that he's been on and just ask him like questions and just let him roll. Like and again, this is sort of the criticism that he gave me, but the fact that I do recognize that I was talking over him a lot. And that's a personality thing, but it's also a technology thing, you know, like I haven't done this.
It's tough on Skype.
Like, yeah,
it's tough on Skype. It's not a face-to-face conversation.
No, I mean,
and let's call a spade too. Both of us were pretty fucking excited to talk to the guy. So like, that's pretty cool too. Like, you're just like, you want to get a lot out because you're excited to catch up with him and ask him questions and rap with him for a minute. So
yeah, it was a thrill to have him on. It's funny because, my wife was down here a couple of minutes ago before you stepped in, and it just something clicked because she didn't realize that Kirk was the guy that I was a huge fan of when he was on EEI. and we were living in a Brighton apartment, super small. And I remember I used to come home and I was giving her the back and the forth, the story when I was suspending him when he went away for the mental health reasons, and then he came back and they fired him. Like, I was really upset about that. And my wife finally, she's like, wait, is that the guy? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, do you remember all the times that I was like, she's like, yeah. She's like, she's like, it almost made it like in her mind at that moment, it made the time that he was here with us like a much more bigger deal, which it was
like, holy shit, right? I'm finally talking to this guy that I've been listening to these stories
Right.
and all this stuff about forever. It's cool.
So,
What I liked best was, I think it was, he was on the OGs and he said something. They asked him something like, you know, do you think they have a place on the channel? And he said, I think everybody has a place. You know, if somebody wants to talk about, I think he said something like, if somebody wants to, or a couple of people want to talk about fucking bugs,
right?
Like, let them talk about bugs. And it might be interesting. And if it's interesting, cool. And if it sucks, then we'll make fun of him. So basically he wins either way.
Right.
You know, and we just happen to have a decent platform to talk about that people actually are interested in and want to hear more about. So we'll keep on keeping on, and we'll probably get fucked with a little bit, like we said earlier on, which is totally fine. And we'll keep doing what we're doing.
And I guess that's the kind of the beauty of this community. I mean, I believe it's all in fun. There's a couple of shitheads that take it a little bit too far, but I mean, everyone's going to shit on each other at some point, one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that's sort of the fun of it.
So we're taking feedback left and right, folks.
Oh man. Like I said, we're doing this for fucking fun. We're having a blast doing it. And that's why I always follow up with people. So anytime anyone DMs me or puts a comment on the YouTube, like, I'm always, whether it's positive or negative, I'm like, hey, so what did you think? And if this is what you think, you know, how do you think we can improve, whatever. So like, I do think of this as like, this is like an education for us. You know, I want to get better at it. I want to be able to entertain. Kirk's definitely the role model. I mean, I do put him on that pedestal. Like, I think he is really good at what he does. And I learn a lot from listening to him and the way he interacts with all the other Minifans. And anyway, I think I'm just trying to get to a place where we can just continue to provide the content that we would provide, but just get better at the production and the sort of the entertainment end of it.
Obviously, school's canceled for the end of the year here in Massachusetts. That was a tough blow, right?
Yeah, for all those who know or heard on our last podcast, you know, I think we mentioned, you know, we both have some little ones at home, and it's just like, I mean, we're both working full time, but we're also living full time with our kids.
Yeah.
And it just drives me nuts. I've definitely reached an end point.
Sitting in a random office or basement, trying to.
By the way, I don't know did your wife tell you I was eyeing your garage?
No.
Did she tell you this?
No. Why?
Because
pull up station.
Well, that's what she wants.
Yeah,
but I want to put a platform in there.
A platform.
Yeah.
To put weights on. So like what? Just two platform. Or you need a full platform that you'd actually
I could
throw on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I'd obviously build that. So but you know, there's no height in my garage. I can't go above my head there, and then the only place I can do it is outside.
There's some decent height in that garage.
That's what I'm saying. You get enough space, so I'm gonna fucking build a platform in your garage. Hope you're happy with that.
That's not a bad idea. We could put a real gym in there too. We need to rebrace that fucker though. It's when I got the house inspected, when we had the house inspection, we moved in there. They said it's
don't
like
park the car in there.
Don't put a car in there. It's probably going down soon. So
well, I mean, that's what I was asking. I was asking her about that because do you think dropping a bar?
No, I don't think dropping. No,
anything hanging or
I mean, I think the roof is just not the most sound.
Yeah,
like the trusses and the roof are just 100,000 years old.
Right, 100,000.
I mean, the house is 1929, bro. It's old as shit. I don't think the garage is that, but it's old. So I don't know. It's hurting.
Before we get going with the weed stuff, which we have a lot of updates on, a couple podcasts ago, we had my boy Francis in here. Remember?
Yeah.
Fucking badass dude, dog trainer, fucking getting bitten up, and he's a huge fucking gun guy.
I sent you some of my information because
So this weekend I took my safety course, and I obviously passed with flying colors. You can't really fail those things, but unless you're a douchebag.
I hope you didn't fail it, jerk. I hope you didn't fail it, you jerk.
So I got my certification. So that was the major step. So
cool.
I used actually one of the courses that he recommended, which was called Tactical Dynamics. And I actually learned a ton. So anyone who enjoyed that episode, I think it was 2 episodes ago when we talked about responsible gun ownership, it's always been a goal of ours to carry, to get our license to carry, our LTC, the first step is to get your safety certification. And then you have to go through the application process. So the unfortunate piece is I can fill out all the forms and submit all my paperwork into, you have to do it in through your town's government, not through the state, but there's a state application,
right?
But you have to submit it in with all these other things. Unfortunately, they've put the
that process on hold. Yeah.
So I can get everything to them, but until
you just have to wait now.
Yeah. So it's the fucking governor, man. Fucking Governor Baker.
You put everything on hold.
Two things
on
that
the
we
weed.
two
Fuck
fucking
us
things
on the guns.
The two fucking things that we're the most passionate about at this moment: fucking smoking this and fucking shooting that. He's taking those things away from us. So, but again, the good thing is that it's done, and I'm ahead of it now because I know what's going to happen is once he opens that up again, when towns are allowed to continue on with that registration process, there's going to be a huge influx. So it's the fact that they're going to have everything. I mean, hopefully they'll
have your application in so that it's hopefully at the front of the line, or at least
and that was actually
first one's processed.
Yeah, the great, I would say, like, aside from the education that I learned about all the gun parts and how to fire a gun and all these different things that you learned about the gun itself, they gave you a lot of great tools and strategies to make sure that when you go through the application process, you can get it accepted unrestricted for the first try. So they give you kind of all the hints, and they were also extremely they were very knowledgeable about people's unique backgrounds, because a lot of people, because there's all these red flags that would or could come up. So like parking violation, shit like that, that's not going to affect you. But if you had ever in the last 20, 30 years, any type of like arrest, if you went to jail for any reason, whether it was like a DUI or like something civil, like whatever it was, it doesn't have to be like a violent crime, but that would restrict you from getting an unrestricted license and potentially also get denied. So there was a couple trainers that were online. It was all done obviously virtually because you can't show up to these courses in person, but they had a great group of guys who were really well educated on how to get through the process.
I think it would be good. So I liked the Francis interview was good. I liked it, and it was obviously that was a good high level view of kind of where you can get to and what the process is. But I think it'll be great to kind of see you, just like the weed license, actually. It'll be good to see you kind of go through the first initial steps.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get a good feeling from, I mean, obviously he's done it years ago at this point, but I think the average mutt like me and you, we kind of need to know, like, all right, so what I know you're still texting him, like, okay, dude, what do I do now?
Exactly.
Like, you didn't get all of that process out of the interview. So I think it'll be good to watch you now go through this. Now that we kind of have like a high level view from him about what goes on, now we'll kind of see the step by step, and that'll help. I know that it's going to help me kind of understand this thing better. And I'm sure hopefully some of our audience too.
Yeah. And what I was getting used to doing is just sort of placing in some multimedia in these recordings. And so I'll absolutely put into the beginning of this episode some of the snapshots that might give people the start, and I'll also tweet out the link to the course that I took, because they're running these courses now because everything was shut down, and then again it's the governor, but the governor allowed them to start teaching these courses virtually, and so they're not being done by, I think, all of the different centers. There's only a select few right now that are open doing this, and I think in our class there was like 50 or 60 people that they're joined, and there is a cap. Yeah, there is a limit. It's not unlimited. So I can post a link to where those courses are, so people can just get ahead of it and start taking them. I'm definitely going to document this, and then I'll even fucking do it all the way up to getting my fucking.
Be good to know,
just and then we'll go to the range
step by step of it and all that. That'll be good. Cool.
The other major thing that happened in the last 2 weeks. So we talked about that lawsuit, right? So, so if you guys remember when this whole COVID thing happened and the governor started shutting down everything, he left open stores and things that were considered essential, right? So your supermarkets and your CVS's and different places. The controversy about the weed thing was that he deemed the package stores essential, beer, wine, liquor. The medical marijuana was also considered essential. So those places that are serving people who have their medical card,
Yep.
They can continue to get their substances. They can continue to get their treatment. That's open. But what he shut down was the adult use recreation. And again, his primary reason was for health, public health.
Doesn't want people standing on lines. He referenced lines, which it's been in the news. We've all talked about for the last 18 months since it all started happening.
And so there was a lawsuit. I have the motion right here. So the results came back basically, and so there was a group of marijuana businesses with also some individuals who were suing Charlie Baker and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for basically trying to reopen the adult use dispensaries. And the news that's been coming out in the last week or two is just horrific. Like some of those businesses have already closed. I found out some pretty useful statistics. I think there's like 300 businesses and like 3,000 employees who work, and we're talking obviously about the people that supply, the people that work in the retail stores, the business owners themselves. And so we're talking about like a huge population of tax-paying people.
It's a very blue collar, and it's a very blue collar service industry too. There's, you can laugh about the term, but the bud cutters, just the amount of work going into snipping plants, like that's a lot of hand work in those grow houses. Like that's a lot of like just kind of like farm work almost in the sense like you're still like you're tending to fucking crops, right? It's in a really like surgical like type place, like it's pretty clean, you're not like out in the, so you're not in the elements bent over a field like a farmer, but I mean you're tending to crops, like cutting away leaves. It's certainly a skill. You have to preserve, you're cutting away vegetation to expose the bud, which is what people want to smoke. It's tedious handwork, right? It doesn't pay that. It's hourly work. It doesn't pay great, right? I would imagine a ton of those people are out of work because those houses are not growing a ton of as much weed. It's only if it's only going through medical, that's going to cut off a ton of demand. And the other thing that was interesting about so if you go to the individual businesses themselves, you can find a little bit about the owners. Like I was digging into this one. I think it could have been in Dorchester. So I think it was the first like minority owned adult use recreation shop. So I think it was it was Dorchester or West Roxbury, one of those. If you're reading about this person, it was like his life dream to do this. And he put in his whole like saving, like he basically put in and invested his whole life into this business. And the store has been closed for like 6 weeks. And that's like kind of like that's the heartache. That's the stuff that we're reading about. Obviously we can talk about it from two different perspectives. We can talk about it from the patient's perspective. But at least from the user side, we have an option, right? Because the medical dispensaries are still open, we can still go through the process. And as we have laid out for everyone a couple episodes ago, it's not that difficult to get your medical card. It sounds like although it sounds like the telehealth side of things is jammed now as well. So overbooked and jammed. And I'm sure that at some point licensing and supply of medical product is also going to start shortening. Which it's not a sustainable. No, this is not good.
I agree. I mean, again, the pressure is going to have to come.
Massachusetts.
I mean, the bottom line is that the pressure is going to have to come on the governor to start, because again, I think we're the only state with legalized adult use recreation facilities whose governor took the stance.
Closed.
No other state that has these dispensaries open. California or Maine or like
Colorado,
they're all opened. And deem these things essential. And again, that's the piece that I just can't I'm getting hung up on. So getting back to the lawsuit. So the judge, so it was in front of a judge, and what I want to do is just kind of read 2 paragraphs. So I'll do it quickly, but just to summarize what went on. So in this lawsuit, so the plaintiffs, who are the people that are suing the governor, contended that it was just arbitrary for Governor Baker to allow sales of medical marijuana and alcohol while barring sales of non-medical cannabis during this public health emergency.
Right.
So that's basically what we just said. His number one argument was that it was a public health crisis, and he was
Which
trying.
is no different than any other store would need
Exactly.
to do, which is social distance people, tape up the floor, put people, hire a detail cop if you need to, which most of them already have.
They
by
do,
the way.
yeah, or security of some sort.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, so the claim basically was trying to claim that it was unconstitutional for the governor to deem them as unessential.
Yeah.
And so the judge came back and essentially denied the motion and said, and it was interesting because he did say it very clearly that the governor did not violate anyone's constitutional rights by, during cooking. I think this is the problem, is that, we're in this like uncharted territory with this COVID-19. So
basically they're saying he can do
whatever the fuck he wants.
Right.
And that's basically what he said.
And
that's what the judge said.
And for me, this goes back to two other pretty solid examples, which were, one, the whole vape thing. I mean, he just, you talk about businesses get shut down.
Shut that down.
There was a couple of, I mean, I know for a fact there's a couple of businesses that were just, I don't think they recovered because they had like all their products were different sort of vape oils and products. And it wasn't even THC. It was just, it was just regular, flavored tobacco vapes and stuff. And they were, I think they all were. I'm sure a bunch of that business got wiped out.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
So to sort of like work against that ruling, the other thing that was interesting about this was that the recreational adult use dispensaries were not able to take advantage of any of the stimulus package that the federal government was giving the states to support small businesses because they didn't fit under a certain category. So the Cannabis Control Commission wrote a letter to their representative, to Representative Presley, and basically stating that these businesses have put in a tremendous amount of time and energy, and if the governor is not going to deem them essential and open them up again, then they should at least be able to be identified as, I don't know, whatever the category is, to fit into this stimulus package, and then apply for, basically support. So again, nothing's changed, so there's all this activity, there's all this advocacy, and there's all these things going on with the adult use recreation facilities. But I mean, who knows what's gonna fucking happen? I mean, like, it doesn't seem like he's budging at all. Like, I mean, at this point, it's all of the cards are in his hand. The judge already ruled that he has the constitutional right to keep open or to close whatever he thinks is going to help this, help us through this crisis. So
no, I think at this point we're into the regular pressure of all businesses to be opened.
Yeah.
At that, we're just that's where it's going to be. That's where it's going to go. And like it really sucks for, I think, we've mentioned this a couple of times. We've taken to Twitter with it too, but I think it sucks for folks like veterans that would actually jeopardize their federal benefits because they can't go get a state medical card because that would conflict with federal psychiatric status or whatever psychological status or whatever you call it.
I'm actually really interested in this angle. I'm glad that you brought this up to me, a short while ago, because I'm gonna continue to follow through with it. I think I would really love to get either someone from those advocacy agencies who are really trying to push for veterans' rights to be able to apply for some of these medical cards. I'd love to get someone like that on. I did tweet out an article about a group, and they took out a whole ad in I think it was in the Boston Globe, and basically directing the message to the governor to open up the adult use recreational dispensaries primarily for the veterans.
I don't read that stupid Globe, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
but
fuck you, Globe.
I do follow a couple of weed reporters from the Globe. I will admit that to the Minute fans who are constantly analyzing, but otherwise, no Globe for me.
They do a pretty good job. I hate to say it, but like
they just happen. I mean, they're big enough to where they fund some folks to do other things, and you got 2 or 3 folks that are they're focused on marijuana news in the state.
So that's the weed news. Those are all the updates, the highlights.
Well, that and there, weed can cure corona. Weed's curing corona in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
You're keeping up on, obviously, you keep up on all of the Chosen news as always, and weed popped into the Chosen's news this week, didn't it?
The chosen people.
The Chosen's, yes.
So I guess because of a lot of the regulations, are like I am in the biopharmaceutical industry. We're not allowed to test cannabis. I mean,
Right.
That's
Of
not
course,
something.
it's a Schedule 1 drug or whatever.
Exactly.
It's bad.
Like there's very few places that can invest in.
They're not putting money towards it at a national or federal funded level type of thing. Yeah,
correct.
Gotcha. Yeah,
but
Israel is though.
But it looks like the fucking Jews are, man. Israel.
Wow.
They see a business model, man. They see something pretty special going on about the weed.
Well, that's all right. They put a gun in your hand when you're 13 and send you off to war too. So
It's
whatever,
not 13.
right?
I think it's
no disrespect,
18.
Chosens. I love all the I love all my Israelites.
2 years, Garrett. I think it's 2 years you have to go after graduating high school. I think after you get your diploma or whatever.
Right. Once but basically
2
you
years
become an adult and
mandatory.
off you go.
Yeah. Off to war. I to be completely honest, I love that idea. I actually almost wish that they had something similar to that. Like, I mean, when you think about joining the army, we're not talking about everyone has to go to combat. There's a way of serving.
You serve.
Yeah, you serve. So you can serve on a medical level. You can serve on a public health level. You can serve on a engineering level. Like there's all these different ways in which you can give back. I mean, the direction in which our country is going, which is like
patriotism. That's for sure.
What?
That sure does create some patriotism and love for your country, which is pretty
fucking
awesome. Which I don't think we necessarily have everybody on board for all the time.
I mean, we're fucking split completely down the middle, and I mean, it would take a huge compromise. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I mean, we're gonna have
a foreign concept. It's not going to happen.
No, we're gonna have a volunteered army for.
But it's interesting to look at.
Whatever.
They're just there. Yeah, you got a small crew that's pretty dedicated and pretty badass, obviously.
Right. Well, so anyway, so Israel is studying some of the medical benefits.
They're solving corona with weed in Israel.
And because the coronavirus,
you'll tweet that out, I'm sure.
Yes, 100%. Because the coronavirus, part of the reason why it's causing so much distress for people is because it creates, not only because the infection creates a tremendous amount of inflammation in the lungs, right? So, when we talk about inflammation in the lungs, we're talking about like lung injury, and when your lungs are inflamed, they can fill with fluid, causing pneumonia. So a lot of
I'm a weed guy. You're gonna have to give me something good here, because I don't know how inhaling smoke is gonna help your lungs amid a corona problem.
So that's actually the thing. So it's not about smoking marijuana; it's just ingesting it.
Got it.
So it's through a different way. So like an edible, for example, would benefit you, or just doing like the CBD stuff, like a CBD pill.
So they're working on inflammation.
Yeah. So
you can't take it because you don't want to take an acetaminophen and all that stuff in right now anyway, right? It's something like that. Like you don't want to be taking Tylenol or something, right?
I don't think it was Tylenol. I think
it was
aspirin. No, it was Advil. I think it was ibuprofen. It was the anti-inflammatories that were somehow. I don't know. I don't know too much about it.
Some CBD as an anti-inflammatory. That's pretty. There you go. Yeah, that
exactly.
Would make some sense.
What they're trying to say is not that not that cannabis can cure COVID-19, but that it could reduce the burden, or I guess in sense
supplement to the treatment. Sure.
Yeah, it basically just keeps them healthier longer. So that that's the whole thing about this is that our bodies have never fought this infection before ever. So we don't have any immunity to it. So it takes a huge amount of energy from our bodies to produce this. So sort of like, it's working on overdrive, because we don't have anything to fire at this thing. We're basically just going from nothing. So we're basically throwing stones at this fucking tank, and what it's doing to a lot of our more vulnerable people in the population is that their bodies just don't have the energy to fight it. They're basically shutting, like their body's organs are shutting down because they can't keep up with the infection, and there's no cure for this. So, we don't have a treatment. We don't have a therapy. We don't have a vaccine. So basically the only way that you survive COVID-19 is your body kills it. It fights it, and you no longer have the infection anymore. I mean, you can give certain therapies, like, so for example, you can keep someone hydrated, right? There's all this talk about the ventilators. You know, what the fuck's a ventilator for? Well, the reason the ventilators are so important are because these people's lungs are
They
so
can't keep up
fucked
anymore,
up,
right?
they can't breathe. They can't breathe on their own. So the ventilators are basically breathing for them and giving them oxygen to stay alive, so long as their bodies can fight the infection. But that's unfortunately why people are dying at a pretty rapid rate, because the people that are vulnerable, because their bodies just don't have the energy or the capabilities, because they're so compromised to fight the infections. And so
I've got we were talking a little CBD with Kirk the other night, and we got into running, and he was saying when what's it, Omax, is that the name of it, when he gets his
actually, the funny
sponsored sample. What were you gonna say?
Just real quickly, so remember he told us, like, yeah, it's coming in on Wednesday.
Yeah, we were saying he was gonna sample it, which was the point I was gonna make.
The funny thing was that Steve was like, no, that's been in my car for a while.
That's great.
It was like in a bag. He had this bag of product that he has yet to give him. So that happened, I think, yesterday. So I thought that was funny. So
I mean, and I think this would go well with the whole with the Mincels and the Minifan crew here. I love CBD oil and lotions and different things. I've been using that stuff for a few years now. And a good friend of mine for years has he lived in Boston for years and moved up to Maine, Industry, Farmington, Maine. I mean, middle of nowhere, Maine. Like, we're talking grit. I know you know Maine. I don't know Maine. Talking grit, middle of nowhere, Maine. Owns a little farm, does this thing up there, and has a little company called Buzzed Edibles, and makes edibles, lotions, different herbs, products, all that sort of stuff. Wait, you know this guy? Yeah, he's one of my best friends. I mean, he should sponsor this podcast. He will be. I mean, he will be one of our interviews. He's like on our slate for interviews over the next. It's probably not next week. It's probably 2 weeks out. This cartridge is from him. He grows his own stuff, presses it, gets it turned, gets it synthesized or whatever, and processed for vapes. But he also, what he really does best is oils, lotions, and edibles. I'm gonna have to talk about this guy. Yeah, Buzzed Edibles. I'd love to get some of that lotion in Kirk's hands. I think that stuff would do the job for the what is it, the Achilles that he's having an issue with? No, it was IT band. That was it. IT band. Yeah. Hip flexors for me, hip flexors, and right knee. I had my right knee scoped before college, playing football, and just getting some of that stuff on there. Like I said, it's like just warms it up, kind of like gets it moving, all that good stuff. We got we got a handful of emails from people looking for some advice about certain products. Yeah. For different reasons. And I guess, one thing that I was hearing from people was, they were looking to use like CBD oil as a way to treat their anxiety. Do you know anything about that? Is there any connection between? Yeah, you would put it. So if you can, and Omax does this too. And the only thing I just don't know much about Omax specifically, like how strong it is, or how they I don't know the chemistry of their product. I don't know how good it is, or how they're pressing their shit or whatever. But yeah, you would use CBD. You could use CBD as a sleep aid also. I think if it was like in a dropper form, you'd put it under your tongue, and it would kind of, it's kind of after like an hour, probably chill you out as it seeps into your bloodstream and everything. What this gets me to, and I wanted to bring up, I'm glad you brought all of this up, because I think what we should do, I'm going to talk about one diagnosis. I diagnose a ton of people and help people get shit all the time, right? And I'm always kind of like, like my friends and folks that I come in contact with, I'll kind of interview them a little bit, like a little bit, not like a formal interview, but I'll just sort of like ask them a few questions, try to understand what they're trying to accomplish, similar to like the shit I did with you. Yeah. And then, make some recommendations or stuff like that. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, and you're talking about this mini blog, I think we can post the diagnosis on the mini blog. So we'll write up a summary, like what the patient was interested in, like what was going on, and then we can kind of follow up with like what the diagnosis was and what I recommended to kind of go through on this. I love this idea. We can kind of do
That's on
do
you.
it that way. Yeah. Well, it gives me gives me an action item. Gives me an action item for the week.
The cool thing about the blog, to be honest, is that it's just a greater chance to share a little bit more information than like Twitter. You know, like Twitter, we're basically sending out links and we're basically giving them like, you know, how many characters.
You get a couple of sentences to throw out there. Yeah. So mini blog diagnoses, and I'll talk about one. I'll go through like one a week.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest thing the biggest questions I get, and I think where we'll provide like help actually give some answers and help some folks out is, you know, you look at some of these dispensary menus or, if you ever get to the point where you can actually look at a dispensary menu and you're kind of trying to figure these things out, as you've said, and we did in the couple episodes back there's, you know, 40 items on the fucking menu.
Yeah.
And the one I'll talk about tonight, we're running out of time, so I'm sure I'll be getting to it in a minute here. But the one I was talking to it just happened to pop up the other night. We had a good idea for it because she's newly acquired medical patient, and she's looking at the menu and she's like, it's fucking rainbows. Like it's rainbows and dots. Like what the fuck is going on this? And then immediately, you know, we're sitting around the other night and I get the text. Oh, what does Scott get? What's Scott do? What is he getting? Let's not worry about what Scott does.
Right.
To what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
What are you trying to get to? Where are you trying to go? So,
like
that's why. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why she was kind of like she was concerned. Like I'm pulling my phone out because I'm just getting the screenshot from the text, and it was you know, it's oh my God, there's so many options. I'd like to be, you know, when we finally got down to it, I'd like to be relaxed, but not brain dead. Also interested in gummies, no idea what milligram. I don't want to have to eat 10 of them to feel good. So to provide some backdrop, and this is what I'll do in the blog, we'll get into a little bit better in the blog, but I'll give some backdrop on like what the profile is. I think that's what's the most important.
Totally.
Like, we can fucking talk about what people smoke or what people do for weed all the time, but it's better to understand who that person is.
Right. Just draw up the case.
And then we do enough of those, and hopefully somebody fucking identifies with one of the dozen that we do.
Love this idea.
And we got some, we're driving a little bit, right?
I love this idea.
So this one, she's a real estate property manager. She's got a 1-year-old kid. She's pretty damn good about going to her CrossFit classes every morning. She typically hits like the 6 or the 7 a.m. CrossFit. So she's up and at 'em early. The 1-year-old obviously fucking has her going. And I would imagine, and her husband, same thing. He's working, he's in ops, and he's probably working some pretty crazy hours. Sometimes he'll do an overnight in a warehouse type of environment, like ops type. He's a manager type thing. So he's got a lot going on too. So yeah, relax, but not brain dead. So I'm guessing, okay, the fucking, you know, the kid's going down, and this is probably pretty relatable stuff here for some folks. Kid goes down at probably 7:30, 8:30, something like that. You want to do something that calms the nerves after you've put him down, but you also want to be coherent enough in case he's waking up crying or you got a fucking deal, which is similar to stuff like you and I have talked about, obviously, in the past with our little ones too. So I'm looking on the menu. This was on the menu, I think, when we were looking at this one. It's still in stock. It happens to be at the same place at Sierra. It was Route 90 Rosetta Stone and Chem D, which were 2 flowers that were kind of on the hybrid strain. So not sativa, because that would get her kind of spun up and thinking too many crazy fucking thoughts. And a hardcore indica, like a purple or like one of those blueberry types ones way down there, that's going to put her to sleep, and then she's not going to wake up if the kid's crying, right? So kind of try to find like a mid-level hybrid type flower for her. Or I also suggested a couple of light vapes under 20%, because she doesn't want to be fucking zonked out of her face. And then we actually, similar to you a little bit, we talked about those Kanja gummies, those like the pucks, actually. So 25 milligram pucks, same thing. They come in a hybrid. Maybe you have those a little bit earlier. Maybe you have those at, you know, I don't know, 6 o'clock. So by the time the kid's going down at 8, you're starting to feel those a little bit. So yeah, just thought that was an interesting one.
And that's motherfuckers why he's called the cannabis doc. I'm just like, oh man, shit. That's good stuff, man. I love the idea. I love everything.
So I've got one good how high.
You want to get high, man?
If I study high, take the test high, get high scores.
Are we in the right place?
Just be cool, and you might have some fun.
See, I'm looking for the ecstasy, for the pot, for those shrooms.
How high?
I don't think I've told this one. I hope I haven't. So, main guy.
You're a main guy.
No, this main guy that the same main guy, family member.
Yeah.
They have a an elderly friend, that friend of the family who, actually this military, I believe, military veteran. I think he was almost like late 80s, early 90s, had never tried any kind of marijuana, never smoked anything, pretty straight edge guy his whole life. They convince him, because he was, as he was getting older, he was just having anxiety and kind of just not sleeping very well, less active as he's older. So kind of like, nights blurring into days, that kind of stuff. They make him a bunch of high-powered brownies, high-powered like edible brownies, like loaded up brownies with a lot of weed, because this guy has a farm. Leave him with, and they come over and they hang out with them, and he has a couple of them apparently, and like not much happens. And they're like, all right, well, this is how it goes with edibles. Sometimes it is what it is. They leave him, and for some strange reason, like classic fucking story, he decides that he's gonna get back into the brownie. So he goes back into the fridge, pulls them out, and winds up like putting down this whole thing of brownies. And this guy, he's friends with the wife's mom. So his mother-in-law is friends, because this guy's way older, and the mother-in-law is in her like 60s, 70s, right? So like they're all kind of in this small town in Maine. So how high he winds up, this is how fucking high is he winds up having to be basically like sat with and have his hand held to the bathroom and to the kitchen to like eat, like sustenance and bathroom for like the next few days, like a couple of days of like straight up monitoring, like full on like care, because he's ancient and he's wigging his balls, so he's tripping his balls off. We need to get into, how much time do we have left?
Just as much as you want, man.
We got 10 minutes. Before this gets obnoxious. We need to get into Corona workouts real quick, though. Seriously.
Okay.
We can't just talk all fucking stoner talk this whole time. We got to talk a little bit about mental health and how it pertains to physical health. So let's hear it.
So what am I doing?
Yeah, quick. And I know it's nothing crazy. I know it's not what it used to be, but people need to hear about like just good workouts from home and shit that people are dealing with. I think that's good inspiration.
Similar to, so Kirk mentioned the 5K. So there's
of course.
You gonna sign up for that?
Yeah, I'll run the goddamn 5K.
No, but you have to sign up for it.
I'll sign up for the 5K. I'll run the 5K.
Good.
Yes.
So
I'd be a real jerk to be sitting around here doing this whole thing and not be on the 5K thing.
I think Kirk actually said anyone who has a YouTube show, if they don't do the 5K,
you're a fraud.
They're cut. He's cutting the program,
and I will be called a fraud. It will be bad.
Basically, I'll fucking cut you.
Yeah,
cut you from this program.
That's fair.
So I'm running, which I fucking hate. Like I said, about 3 times a week now. I'm doing like a couple 3.5 miles, because I guess my goal, the way that I've trained for things in the past, is you go a little bit further and beyond what you really need to do it,
always,
so that it just feels like when you're like, oh fuck, I'm done. So I've been going about 3.5 miles. I think it's like 3.1 is a
3.2 is a 5K. 3.2, yeah.
So I've been going about 3.5 couple times a week, and then alternating that with my CrossFit shit. So what about you? What are you doing?
2 miles. I'm not running outside though. I think that's got to be my goal, is to get outside. I've never been an outside run guy.
I'm the opposite.
I'm an ex 300 pounder, so I've lost like 70 pounds over the last 5 or 6 years in my life. So I was never a big runner anyway.
Imagine you being 300 pounds.
I was a sprinter. I was a lineman, so sprint hard for 30 seconds. Don't run. What the fuck are you talking about? We have no need to run. But yeah, I've adopted running good over the last, I don't know, probably 6-7 years. But I've just never been an great outdoor runner, which is something I got to do. So anyway, 2-3 miles treadmill always, every morning. And like now, because of Corona nonsense, like 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 air squats, 50 split back squats,
Yeah.
that kind of shit. I mean, it's all bullshit. I got a couple 615. How do I do this?
Fucking mornings, man. I can't believe you do it in the mornings.
Because again, with the little ones
Right.
and work and everything, that's kind of our time. So I adopted the Jocko Willink like extreme ownership piece, which is like, get up early and own get your hour, and that's your hour. Nobody's gonna bother you. The texts aren't going off. The baby's not awake yet. Like that's your time to do your thing.
Yeah.
My wife is way better disciplined. She'll hear this and be like, "You're a fucking pussy. You're bullshit."
I thought she doesn't listen to it.
She probably doesn't listen to it, but if she did hear it, she'd be like, "I'm way more disciplined than that fucking jerk."
Well, she is.
But yeah, I am taking. And I did say before, I said every day I'm not. I take my Sundays off. I don't fuck around on Sundays.
Yeah.
Sundays I eat pizza and drink beer and jerk off.
All right, man. We covered a lot of fucking topics today. All right, everybody. Peace. Thank you for listening. Any final last words?
Super Lemon Haze.
Super Lemon Haze, motherfucker.
What is this?
Is it over?
We're running out of time.
I don't want to hear your excuses.
No, it's not fair.
Where'd all the files go?